on the cards for you.
Generation Z chicks, that's women between 18 and 24 years old. You really need to start dating Generation X men, because what that's going to do is if you have kids, your eggs are at a high point of telomerase, which is fecundity. And that means babies born to you, and of course your Gen X boyfriend. Of course there are others. Not very many. Will have the strongest, longest living DNA because of the high points of the enzyme telomerase on the ends of the DNA in both the ova and the spermatozoa. Now, if you don't, what's going to happen is your kids are going to suffer from telomere attrition. And you know this is true just anecdotally through the obvious meanness, craziness, lack of physical fitness, intelligence rates dropping. You know we're in sort of this idiocracy, mean-spirited world, so much so that Biden has complained about there being no empathy or sympathy in the world, and also socialists complain about this as well. The greed of people to walk around with 2 women at a time, the absolute rejection of poor people. But as a Democrat and a socialist of Gen Z, you would already know this, that we're approaching sort of this critical point. Well, that's telomere attrition. That's our brains breaking down because moms are too old and dads are too young. Gen Z, you need to start dating Generation X.
Okay, here's a little more on like the attack pattern in the Rondell grid. You can see each letter forms sort of an attack pattern. You start at the black space and you can move to any of the white spaces in that attack pattern. So they're all open-ended letters. That's the J attack pattern. There's an example of what the K attack pattern looks like. There's the O, and there's the S attack pattern. So if your command is 4 words, so you do toss to the right because you need that S attack pattern, you'll reverse that, and the phrase that you'll make is sudut eth higher, which would be that minus the GH, because the GH doesn't have any pronunciation, and the language is itself phonetic, so you don't need the GH. On the Rondell, you can move 1 or 2 spaces each turn, and everybody has the same kind of God space. The God move person, it'll be like a metal character that you move around. So you can't do what they did in the previous turn. A Rondell just is around like Monopoly, and then you play on the grid, harvesting and settling, attacking and trading. It's actually really simple. It just is based on the phrase that you might create to get the attack patterns that you need. So if there is 4 words, you can move 4 workers, and every person will have 12. That's just a simplified version of it. It'll be about twice that size. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, I'm just drawing kind of a draft for Criterion, the board game I'm designing. So you'll have a Rondell, which is like Monopoly, where you move around a grid, and you can move 1 or 2 spaces each turn, so 1 or 2. It'll be like a big metal character that everybody can move. So if I move to here, you couldn't move another piece, you know what I mean? Like, I'll move there, so of course you have to move 1 or 2 from there, and everybody uses the same space to move around the Rondell. And then the grid is 16 by 16, and there'll be different resources. You'll have to build 6 different types of buildings and 2 of each, and you'll place a castle wherever you want, and it can be played up to 4 players, and you're going around harvesting the chits on each one, so there'll be 256 chicks. When you meet another player, you can either attack them or trade with them for the resources you might need. So you'll have a battery, an armory, a silo, a keep, a stronghold, barracks, and a silo. So of course you'll need a certain amount of wood, certain amount of sand to make glass, apparently rock. And you'll need to sort of go around harvesting those. And I already explained the part with the attack pattern where you will form a sentence like 1 up, 2 right, directed by the rondel of like the verbiage you would use and the amount of spaces and the amount of words would be the amount of workers that you move, and everybody has 12 workers. So you either kill those or trade with those as you're building your strongholds and your keeps and such. And that's pretty much it. You're just harvesting resources you need to build your buildings and placing them on the board by the rules. And keeping the other workers from building buildings by killing them off or trading with them for the resources you might need so you won't have to harvest. And you'll get those attack patterns based on the new alphabet of switching the sentence around, and then the last letter of the first letter of the new, like move would be evum, because you switch it around, and then you look up the alphabet for E, and the E would have that certain attack pattern. So from that space, you could move to any of those other spaces on your second move for that turn. So you get 2 turns per turn. You'll move according to your own volition, how you form that sentence, and then you'll get the first letter of each word to move that many characters by that attack pattern or movement pattern.